So, Anne Monaghan, you're very, very welcome to Menopause and Eyes podcast. So, Anne, I believe that you are an absolute expert, a master in yoga, and of course, a lot of other complementary therapy. So, can you introduce yourself to our audience today, Anne, and tell us a little about yourself?
Thanks, Siobhan, for having me on. And my background to yoga and the therapy started probably 6 years ago now. And it was really to try and manage anxiety. And I found that yoga really, really worked for me and some of the other therapies, which I'll talk more about. And I'll talk also more about how they work. And of course, anxiety is one of the symptoms of the menopause. And but I also found then as I started to go through the menopause, I'm 48 now, but I would say it started in my early 40s, symptoms like the lightheadedness and the dizziness and the overthinking and the thought management, that all of the aspects of yoga really helped with many more symptoms of the menopause, not just the anxiety.
Fantastic, Anne. And I can hear what you're saying there. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who are listening to this today can actually identify with those symptoms. And we all know how many symptoms there are of the menopause and how difficult it can be to navigate. So, Anne, you work with a lot of women. I know you also work with a lot of men, but when you're thinking about your female clients, what types of things are they saying about their menopausal journey?
Well, that's correct. I would work with many hundreds of people, whether it's through yoga classes or self-care programs or retreats, and physical and online and one-to-ones. And women will experience the menopause slightly differently. And I think you've covered in one of your podcasts before, and it's on the website, just how many symptoms there are. And I found that just having an hour on the yoga mat allowed me to, and I know the word is overplayed, tune in, or the words are overplayed, to tune into, but it did allow me to keep track month by month of what the symptoms were for me, how I was feeling, what triggered some of the symptoms and made them worse each month. And so it had all of those benefits, allowing me, I suppose, to understand myself better, to educate myself as to my own experiences, and then to, of course, in classes and programs, to share with people what I was experiencing and that other people could share their experiences as well.
That's absolutely wonderful, Anne. And you know what? You're right. The ability to have those conversations without fear or shame or stigma attached to it. And fair play to you for creating the environment in your business, well worth it, to allow women to actually have that freedom to talk openly about their symptoms. So, Anne, when we're thinking about yoga, so I have done yoga with you before, by the way, in case people didn't know, and have had a great experience. Kind of a wee bit, perhaps, stretching, let's just say. But
Uh,
what would you say would be the main physical health benefits for yoga, particularly for menopausal women?
well, when I was starting on my yoga journey and found that it helped to lessen the symptoms of anxiety, I started to research what exactly was going on in the nervous system, or with the nervous system, whenever one was doing a yoga class. So anyone who goes to a yoga class will know that we focus on our breathing, we focus on our poses, our asanas, and then we also have a small meditation at the end. And when I started to do research into what was going on in the body, I found that all three elements in your yoga class switch on your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your calming nervous system. And this is what was working on me when I first started to do yoga and lessen the symptoms of anxiety. So it took me out of fight and flight and into rest, restore, and digest.
Wow. And I suppose that leads on very, very nicely to the next question, Anne. I did some research on the menopause last year, with local women. And
Yeah.
to be honest with you, it was really a lot of the mental health elements and aspects and issues around the menopause were the things that women were reporting: stress, anxiety, brain fog, losing self-identity, not knowing who they were anymore, not recognizing themselves. So you're talking there about your own personal journey, Anne, and the to manage your own anxiety, to manage stress. So when you are taking classes of yoga and you are feeling what's in the room, as I'm sure you do feel what's in the room, what would you say are the most advantageous aspects of yoga for those symptoms of the menopause that can really affect our mental health and well-being?
Like I say, being able to get to know the changes in the body and to deliberately take time to tune into those, and to take a session on the mat away from the distractions of life, and you can still be doing your poses and thinking to yourself, what is making this symptom worse? So take brain fog, for example. I would find having too much sugar or salt would make the brain fog worse and the dizziness worse. And even I would typically have had a few jelly babies maybe before a class, thinking this will give me energy. And depending on where I was in my cycle, then I would have noticed that instead of giving me energy, it was actually making me a bit lightheaded almost right away. So I've cut down on the sugar and the salt, and I've found that that has made a big difference with a lot of the symptoms. So it has helped to reduce fluid within the body, has helped with the lightheadedness and dizziness and with the brain fog. I've also found that up in other parts of my exercise regime, as well as the yoga, has really helped with some of the symptoms. So I walk a lot anyway. I have a young pup, so I found the walking really helps. And I'm not just saying to people, do yoga, but I've found it really helped for me. But the walking helps, some cycling helps. Definitely getting fitter helps with the weight gain that we tend to put on during the menopause. And I've also noticed around the time of ovulation, as the estrogen levels rise, one kind of changes in the bowel. And again, what we do in yoga by turning on the calming nervous system actually helps to calm the bowel. So the benefits are cross cutting and across many of the symptoms, the menopausal symptoms.
Fantastic, Anne. And yes, of course, I'm a very strong advocate for yoga as well. And I do remember, Anne, starting a class with you, I think it was 6 a.m. And then I was like, why are you doing this at 6 a.m.? You're as stiff as a board, for goodness sake. But what I did find was the yoga really helped my flexibility and the levels of stiffness and joint achiness that I had. So
Yes,
huge benefits to yoga. And a lot of research coming out now around the benefits for yoga, particularly around stress reduction and, like self-care and, managing those symptoms of the menopause.
absolutely.
Good.
As the sorry for cutting across you, but you just triggered a thought there, which should have been one of the obvious ones, I suppose. But with the estrogen levels starting to change and then ultimately to decrease in the body, we can become stiffer in the joints. And I obviously started on this yoga journey, as the menopause was starting. And I have noticed that thankfully that's not, I suppose that's why I didn't mention it, it's not one of the symptoms that has impacted me greatly, because I've been able to do all this work on my joints. But the good news is that one, it's never too late to start, and people will notice really the benefits in the joints very, very quickly. Within 4 to 6 weeks, they will notice that they're starting to limber up, loosen up, become more mobile and fluid again, especially in the main parts of the body. It gives us trouble: shoulders, pelvis, hips, big one for the menopause, and also for the knees. And if you have sore knees, it's almost counterintuitive, but if you have sore knees, you should stretch them, because the knees don't get a blood supply. So they actually need stretched each day, in fact. And one of the benefits that I found from starting yoga, I had a very bad right knee from not stretching years and years ago when I used to run a lot and cycle and do triathlons and things, that I did feel the knee for a considerable period of time, and now I've no knee pain whatsoever. So I'd encourage people to stick with their regime, to give themselves a good 6 months. You'll notice some differences right after class. You'll notice a lot after 4 to 6 weeks, but after the 3 month and the 6 month mark, you'll be flying.
Oh, I like the sound of flying, Anne. I like the sound of flying. Fantastic, fantastic. So listen, yoga is not the only thing that you do, and you're very, very well known for a range of workshops that you provide to community groups across Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
So could you tell us a wee bit more about your Reiki practice, your self-care practice, which is also incredibly important for women at this stage in their lives?
I suppose the pandemic facilitated this. I would have a very busy client basis, people coming to me for one-to-ones, Reiki, reflexology, massage, acupuncture, tapping, acupressure, all of the therapies really. And then, of course, when the pandemic started in March 2020, I I thought to myself, how am I going to reach people now? How am I going to treat them? So I went online, started to show how to do people how to do this on Zoom. So, on Facebook Live and on Zoom, I'd just jump on and show people how to do a wee bit of facial reflexology on themselves, or especially if you're nimble, lift up the foot there and do a bit of foot reflexology. Now, it's not the same as getting it done by an expert, but and also like Reiki, you can do that. It's an energy transfer sent by intention, so you can do that down the line with people. And I developed self-care programs that have run out now to thousands of people, again in person now, but also online. And that incorporates many of the therapies, and it has allowed me and then other people, other therapists do it now to reach people in need wherever they are. So it's a very important part of the work that I do, is to teach people how they can do these things for and on themselves as well.
Fantastic, Anne, because you're right. Lockdown did teach us quite a lot of things. And the use of Zoom, for example, has been phenomenal. And you're right, the likes of Reiki being an energy treatment, and that flow of energy with good intention. I have been to a few of your programs, I have to say, and was so impressed with, that therapeutic feeling that you get just by being in the Zoom room or the physical room with yourself. So when you think, Anne, about the types of work that you do, then what one piece of advice, and I might even allow you to give two pieces of advice, what advice would you give to women who are menopausal?
Sit down with yourself, keep a diary or a journal, week by week, month by month, track what you're experiencing, what triggers you, what enhances some of the symptoms, what lessens them. And within that, you can devise for yourself a personal management plan for the menopause. You can then add in which exercises you feel you're able to do, and again, which are benefiting you on this journey. And also start to do some of your own reading and research and learn from the experiences of other women. And if your mother's still alive, she'll be your best guide, because we tend to follow in program and pattern our mothers. So ask them what they were going through, what symptoms they experienced, and what helped them. And of course, also seek the advice and expertise of your healthcare professionals, so your GP and other therapists, as to which HRT you need to be taking if you decide to go down that route. And I suppose get a holistic overall picture of you and what can help you.
You know what, Anne, you're so right, because we have all choices to make when we maintain our good physical health and our good mental health. And when we have knowledge about the symptoms of the menopause and how they can impact us, actually that knowledge is the power that we have. And you're talking about a self-management plan. I don't expect anybody to wave a magic wand and say, there, Siobhan, ta-da, your menopause symptoms are all gone. Actually, I'm really taking care of myself in a whole lot of different ways. And that encouragement to other women to seek out the things that they enjoy, number one, the things that they can do, number two, and the things that will be of benefit to them. And of course, HRT comes into the conversation many, many, many times. But at the end of the day, it is all about knowledge and choice. And with choice comes power.
Absolutely. And it is about taking responsibility for our own health and our own health journey. And the menopause is a major part of that for women, and it can last a decade or more. So it's important to plan for and to work with it and manage it as we're going through it.
Perfect, Anne. Thank you so much. So listen, we've come to the end of our very short podcast. So Anne, if people wanted to find out more about you and what you do, where can they find you?
So I'm on Facebook as Well Worth It or Anne Monaghan. Well Worth It's obviously the business page, and my website is www.wellworthit.eu, and I'm also on Instagram as Dr. Anne Monaghan, and there people can find contact details and links to ongoing programs and pieces of work and what's coming up.
Fantastic, Anne. And you also feature on Menopause NI's website as one of our associates. So delighted to have you there as well. So Anne, as I say, thank you so much. I might ask you just one last favor. Could you share some of your yoga poses with us? Maybe send us a video so as we can put it on our Facebook page, Menopause NI, and put it on our website. Would it be possible that you could send us something for that?
Absolutely. I will specifically record a few poses for Menopause NI. It's a great site full of lots of tips, expertise, advice, and I suppose what I like about it, first of all, the colours are lovely, but I also like it's like a one-stop shop for everything that you need to know for the menopause. So I'd encourage ladies to take a wee look at it, and also gents, because it can be hard to live with us ladies sometimes when we're going through the menopause, and men need to understand what we're going through as well. But I'll certainly record specifically a few poses for the site for the menopause.
Thank you so much, Anne. And by the way, just when you mention men and the menopause, you know, they might find it hard coping with us, but by God, do we not find it harder coping with ourselves? So they should consider themselves lucky that we're still there. And I'm in the process of developing a program specifically for men. So you're going to have to watch out for that one as well. So Anne,
well, that sounds fantastic, Siobhan, and very well done with all your hard work on this area.
Thank you so much, Anne. An absolute delight, as always, speaking to you. And listen, go on, have a great day. And I have no doubt people will be following, people will be seeking out more information on the really important services that you provide.
Thanks so much, Siobhan, and namaste.